You're an expert at what you do. In fact, you've invested money and time and effort and opened a business, whether it's virtual, it's a brick and mortar. And yet when you have customers, sometimes they need alterations, they need customization. How do you handle that? Well, sometimes it's one of those things where, let's say, for instance, somebody comes in, let's just use a restaurant as an example because we all eat. And let's say in that restaurant, I walk in, you're the owner, and I see something on a menu and I call the waitress over and I say, this is what I want, or a waiter over, and I say, this is what I want, but do me a favor, can we do this, this, and this? And the waiter says, well, no, we can do this and this, but we can't do this. And say, well, can you do me a favor and go back and ask the chef and ask them if they'll do all those items? And they said, okay. So they go out, and now what happens is the chef says, okay, let them have it. And they go back and they make it the way you want it, but then they deliver it and you don't like the taste. You don't like the way it works out. In other words, the delivery of exactly the way you asked them to do it doesn't produce the results you want, which is something that tastes good. At this point, whose responsibility is this? Now, before you say, well, it's the chef because they did a bad job of cooking it, or it's the customer because they altered it beyond the recipe, let's think about this for a second. What if the waitress said, because she was told by the waiter, you can have these kind of changes, but beyond this, the answer is no. Or if we do change this, we have to come to an agreement that you, as now the patron, have to take responsibility, not the chef, on the outcome of the taste, because that's beyond the recipe or even beyond the flexibility of changing some of the ingredients of the recipe. So think about this. The next time this happens is to say, hey, patron or business owner, if I make this change, can you do it? Even though you have a process and procedure, you say, I can change that, but it does change the end zone. It does change the finish line. And so this is something we don't do on a consistent basis. If we make these changes, will you take responsibility? In other words, if we said it will give X and it turns out Y, then you are responsible for that. And our goal line is this. We have created and delivered a product based on your new specs, not what we know, proven through strategy and time and effort again, that produces results. Are you okay with that? And if the answer is yes, then move forward. If the answer is no, then you have to say, well, then I might have to pass on this business because this doesn't make sense, because it really comes back on the business owner, because what's going to happen potentially is you deliver your product or service, and then what happens is it fails in the eyes of the customer, but it failed because of you, not because of the changes. Because at some point, that business owner has to say, wait a minute, I have to have brand integrity. I have to hold my line and say, I do this over and over and over again for many customers, and I know this works, and if we change it, the results are going to be different. So I'm curious, what's your feeling on this? Has this ever happened to you? And did you handle it this way, or did you handle it some way differently? I would love to hear. Have a great day. My name is Jeff Harrison of Swingpoint Media.